continue on your admissions journey. Follow those deadline dates, right, Lovey? We know all about that. Get your essays going, and bang out your interviews, and make sure that you are thanking your school decision makers for just being out there and doing what it is that they need to do to make sure that they are providing more equitable and inclusive spaces. And as Dr. Michelle Purdy said, transforming the elite. So we're hoping folks are coming back into this space. And we, again, in the interest of time, are going to go ahead and get started with introductions. So I'm going to start off with our fearless, courageous students. Just jump on in and introduce yourself. And Nshera, you want to start?
Sure. So I'm Nshera. I'm a senior at Horace Mann School. I came in the 6th grade and I live here in the Bronx, and I'm really excited for today's event.
Okay, thank you for being here. All right, Bethanny.
Oh, sorry, no.
Oh, okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, Bethanny.
Hi, I'm Bethanny. I go to Riverdale Country School. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm really excited to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ayana Santos. I also use she, her pronouns. I go to Ethical Culture Fieldson School. I'm a senior, and I'm also very excited to be here.
Great. And our parent leaders, why don't we start with you, Jennifer?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Smith. I have two students who graduated from Horace Mann, a daughter who's a junior in college, Jasmine Smith, and well, my son didn't graduate from Horace Mann. He left Horace Mann to go to boarding school to play basketball, and he will be going to college next year, and he was there until 11th grade.
You can shout out your colleges, because that is, that's the goal for many of us, right? So shout it out. You all have done good.
So my daughter is at Princeton, her 3rd year at Princeton, and my son is committed to Yale University.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. And Lovey, introduce yourself.
Of course. My name is Lovey. I'm the founder of Parents Who Want Black. And it's actually a platform where I'm helping parents to build a community to navigate dominant spaces, including like the admissions process like this one right here. And just easy plug, like a free plugin. I do have these incredible free resources on the website if you want to check out like an anti-racist interview guide. But I am actually a mom of 4 boys, including a extraordinary bonus son, a wife as well. My oldest son, he attends George Jackson Academy, which is an independent day school, and it's incredible. My other children, they attend local public schools, as well as one on the Upper West Side. So, we're definitely parents that want to like focus on the school education depending on our children's personalities. And we are definitely pro-choice in terms of figuring out what's best for our family. So thank you all.
Yes, Parenting While Black is a great resource for families who are, choosing among educational opportunities. So check them out. We want to also, and is also one of our community sponsors. So thank you so much, Lovey, for supporting the event. Okay. And Jennifer is part of Jack and Jill of Westchester, which is another community sponsor of ours. So thank you so much for supporting us in that way as well. All right, student leaders, we as parents have questions for you, right? We have some questions about where you've been, where you are now, how you're handling the academic space as well as your activist space, and where you see yourself moving forward. So I'm going to kick off this question as we have more folks coming into the room. Did your parents make the right choice in choosing an independent school education for you? I know this is a tough question. I ask this question of my daughter often, and I've become brave enough to ask that question, right? And so I want to ask you all, when it's all said and done, was the right decision made for you? And remember, we are trying to inspire, but we like truth too. Yes, Nshera.
Yeah, so once again, I go to Horace Mann, and I definitely think my parents made the right decision in sending me to Horace Mann. I've been here for, I think, 7 years now, and I honestly wouldn't trade these years for the world. I definitely recognize that it hasn't been the easiest journey throughout middle and high school, but I think the education and the opportunities that I've had are honestly second to none. And like coming from a public elementary school, I definitely did not think that I was as challenged as I could have been. And so coming into an environment where I was being challenged academically and I had like a wealth of resources at my disposal, and I found a really great community here at Horace Mann. I don't think they made the wrong decision. I definitely think that there were moments that made it difficult, moments where I did question whether or not I wanted to be in this space for a variety of reasons. But I do think that there are people within the community and beyond that like make those moments worthwhile. And so even though I've had like difficult moments like that, I would not trade my experience for honestly anything in the world. So.
All right, thank you. Ayana, you're a senior.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have to agree with Nshera about that one. Although there has been many hard times in the past at Fieldston, I wouldn't be able to understand them fully without the education it's given me. So I definitely would agree and I think my parents made the right choice sending me there.
Okay, great. And this is independent school in general, right? It just, it's the luck of the draw. It depends on where you end up. But independent schools in general, that's the tenor. Yes, for sure. So what about you, Bethanny?
Yeah, I definitely think that my parents made the right choice in sending me to independent school because I'm so appreciative of the opportunities, educational and beyond, that Riverdale has afforded to me so far. And I'm a freshman, so I'm just going into high school, but like I've been here throughout middle school, and it's been like very eye-opening just to like see all these opportunities, to have the great campus and these great facilities that I may not get in too many other places. But there's 19 great schools here at this event. There's lots of different environments, and everyone has an environment that's right for them. So there's a place for everyone in an independent school. So I would definitely say like search. I know it's hard to visit now because of COVID, but like do your research, and like you'll definitely find an environment that works for you in the independent school community.
Bethanny, I always find it hard to believe that you're actually in the grade that you're in. I was touting 10th grade, 9th grade. So I've watched you blossom, and it's been a pleasure to support you along the way. So Jennifer, you want to go ahead with your round of questions for our scholars?
Sure. So my question is, so what would you say is the best academic benefit that you receive attending your private independent school? Go ahead, Ayana.
That's a great question. I actually would think the biggest academic benefit would be being able to choose our academics and being able to work with the administration and push what we want to get through and what we as students need to learn, like foster our own academic space. I think that's the biggest academic achievement I've had in the past. I'm also in Students of Color Matter at Fieldston, as well as Black Students Demanding Change, organization that Bethanny and Nshera are both a part of. And this year we've been able to create some demands and push them through to our administration and actually work with them to create and foster a better and more inclusive space for BIPOC students. So I think that is very important to me, and that's what I appreciate the most.
Nshera?
I don't know if that was me, I'm sorry. But kind of as Ayana was getting at, I do feel like being at my independent school, I've definitely had the chance to like pursue a lot of different, I guess, disciplines and fields that I like wouldn't have the chance to do otherwise. And I feel like, as she was saying, I've been able to, go in depth in a lot of things that I'm passionate about and go beyond like the specific, I guess, like requirements or things like that people would like assume that a high school student is supposed to take. And for example, like this year, I'm doing an independent study that's like a year long, and I get to research on like African American and African history, and that's something that I've never really had the chance to do like otherwise, and something I don't think I would have been able to do like at a non-independent school. I also think that like the reputation of our schools is also amazing because like we're getting an amazing education, but it's also known like everywhere in the US that we're getting an amazing education. And so wherever I go, I know that like my intelligence and like my own talents aren't being questioned because I'm coming with an education background that not many people have. And so just being able to have that, I guess, not pride, but pride in the education that I'm getting is really amazing.
Great, thank you. Bethanny?
There's a lot to choose from, so it's hard to think. But because like I said, I am a freshman, so I don't like know. There's a lot of things I'm looking forward to in high school that I haven't had the chance to experience yet. But one thing I would want to talk about is that in middle school, Riverdale offers an activity called Project Week, where we spend 1 week in the year like doing something that like kind of deviates from the academic world. And I remember in 6th grade, I learned about like urban farming and food systems, and we went to an urban farm and helped out in the gardening in the Bronx. And then in 7th grade, I did a dance intensive, and they brought in professional dancers from Broadway and like from different places in New York to teach us routines and to teach us about different styles. And then in 8th grade, I was planning to go to an internship at Lenox Hill Hospital to shadow a doctor and to learn about neuroscience. That got canceled because of COVID, but that's like a really great experience that they offer every year on a normal year. So I think that like those are some opportunities that like you might not get in another school, and I was really thankful to have those. So like that's something exciting.
Great, thank you for those answers. Definitely gives the insight on what you guys are experiencing at your schools.
Yeah, thank you.
Shall I go again or Lovey?
I think it's Lovey's turn. What are your questions, Lovey?
Sure. I'd love to know just like what were some examples of how you all found your voice and started to begin to advocate for yourself. And this could have been either prior to attending the school that you're in now, during the admission process, or even in school. I'd love to know like what are some tools that you were able to do to like bring out your voice and start to advocate for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Who you picking, Lovey? They all have their hands raised.
Oh, either one. I can't see the other people's screens. Sorry.
Go, Ayana.
Okay.
All right. I was just gonna say it did take me a while to find my voice. Throughout my entire school career, I was at Fieldston since kindergarten, and it did take me a little while to find my voice, especially being that I had an older sister 2 years above me who was so outgoing and so powerful throughout every institution she's been in, and it was really inspiring to watch her do that. But I found myself always watching her do that and not really being up there with her. And so I'd have to say a common teacher we both had really brought that out in me. He's an English teacher, Dr. Jones, and he managed to build my confidence so much throughout a PWI and really make myself find my own voice. And I was able to realize that I'm working with the administration, talking about these tough issues aren't like that big of a deal, and it needs to be done, and I need to be the one to do them. So just knowing that I had to take that responsibility and make myself an idol to the younger students really brought that out in me.
Incredible. Thanks, Ayana. Bethanny?
Well, I remember that when I was in 5th grade, I was reading the Wordly Wise book, which is the vocabulary book they give us to learn vocabulary. And they have little stories. And they wrote a story about Rosa Parks. And I noticed that there were some things that weren't as correct or as respectful as they could be. So I wrote a letter to the Wordly Wise Corporation, and they got it changed in the next edition. And this was in 5th grade. So,
Wow.
like personally, I've always been someone who, like, when I saw something I didn't like, or when I saw something that was hurtful, or when I saw something that I wanted to stand up against, I was always like ready to do so. And that's been more of like a personal journey for me than it has school related. But I've definitely gotten a lot of support from Riverdale, especially from teachers and administration, to like helping me to realize that voice and to take the actions I want to take. And like even though that's been more of a personal journey to like find my own confidence and find my voice into speaking up, I definitely think that like Riverdale and independent school communities as a whole are like very helpful, especially with teachers and administration, and like fostering that and making space for us to use our voices.
Thank you. Nshera?
Yeah, so this past year, or my junior year, I went to SDLC, which is a diversity conference for students, and it happens once a year, and it was at Seattle this past year, and I really enjoyed it. And that was the first time that I could really like see myself advocating for like other people and myself. Honestly, prior to that, I didn't really feel comfortable. And like I'm a really outgoing person, but like when it comes to I guess like standing up for myself or like other people, sometimes I just have an issue with that. And so hearing from Dr. Rodney Glasgow, who's amazing, who he really empowered us to make change within our community. And so after that, myself and the 5 other students that went to SDLC actually presented in front of like all the senior administrators at our school. And so we just got to like sit them down and talk about all the different things we want to see from our school community and how we think identity like shapes the things that we do and the ways that we interact. And so that was the first one that I really felt empowered. And so being in that space honestly helped me feel comfortable like joining BSDC and like doing things like that, just advocating for students within my community.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Thank you all.
So this was a hot summer, right? Blacks at the testimony of our alum and current students were nothing short of brave and phenomenal and informative. And I wonder, as I look at you all as like that next step. So the testimonies were shared, the racial moments and racial trauma, and organizations like Black Students Demanding Change said, okay, well, now what are we going to do about it, right? I'd love to hear from each of you one demand that you're especially excited about and the response that you received with regards to making those demands manifest. You want to start, Ayana?
Yeah,
And yes,
sorry.
yes, you have your own shoes that you're filling. And your sister, Adia, is definitely part of the guard that was there making change even before this summer. So
100%, I agree.
yeah.
Yeah. So coming from Fieldston, the year prior to this year, we had a lock-in for about a week in school against some administration and the way our school is running. And we realized that we needed to change things up and we needed a set of demands for the students, by the students, to get through to make the younger students have a better Fieldston career. So we started that about a year ago, which was kind of the outline for BSDC's demands as well. Um, and so before the summer, I was already in that process, but being able to share that with like so many other schools and changing not only one institution, but independent schools everywhere was very powerful this summer. Um, and so definitely one demand I'm most excited about and most looking forward to is having that one class in our high school that is more than just European history and is more than just, your everyday US history. We get in our specific demands, we have a new, like 5 new classes for BIPOC students to learn their history and for other people to learn their history, and Indigenous people. We have a class on that now. So I'm so excited that that's an option, because when I started freshman year, that wasn't an option. I couldn't learn about myself really, but this summer we've been managed to like change that and put that through in other schools. So I'm very excited.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for presenting that demand too. Nshera?
Yeah, so I feel like in recent years, HM has definitely done a good job of like diversifying the faculty. And like I feel like there are a lot of teachers within the school that I can look to and like see myself within. And so one thing that we wanted to work on was diversifying all parts of the school. And so one thing that, or two things that we focused on was diversifying the public safety department, because there was especially like one member who had made students feel uncomfortable like for a long time. And so honestly, like I think immediately after hearing that students were having like harmful interactions or just like negative interactions with that person, our head of school like very quickly just like put an end to that. And now we have a Black member of public safety who has made everyone feel comfortable, and like it's been really nice to get to know him. And another one of our demands was getting more people of color within the counseling and guidance departments. And so within the last year, I think we actually hired a Black female psychologist in the middle division who also works like really closely with our mentorship program for students of color and also meets with high school students. And so I think that's been a really good step that we're excited to see, I guess, rolled out more in the future.
Thank you, thank you. And we have one person in chat that just asked if you would just repeat the name of your school when you're responding. Okay, so Bethanny, want to go next? Thank you so much, Shira.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Ayana in that like changing the curriculum is something that's really exciting to me, because I think it's very important for people of all identities to be able to learn about themselves, but also for people to learn about different cultures and different environments, because that's the way you learn and expand your knowledge. So there's also another group at Riverdale who BSDC is working with called Diversify Your Narrative RCS, which is working to bring texts and readings from authors of different identities into the Riverdale curriculum. So we've been working with the Riverdale administration, the English and History departments, as well as Diversify Your Narrative RCS with BSDC. And it's been really exciting to see like what texts we can bring into the curriculum so we can learn about them in the future.
Thank you, Bethanny. Thank you so much. Jennifer, do you have another round of questions?
Yes. So in all that's been going on with the death of George Floyd, the question is, what did your school do initially without pushing from you guys or pushing from other people to show that they took a stand or they supported you with against supported you in fighting social injustice? Nshera?
Oh, last summer, like when everything was happening with George Floyd, it was also like at the end of the school year, and like we were all doing end of semester testing, and so it was generally like a pretty busy time. But teachers almost unanimously decided that, like, instead of pushing us to focus on academics, they would give us this space to talk about and unpack everything that was happening on a national scale, and also give us a chance to like unpack our feelings and emotions. And so I'm pretty sure like in every single class that I was in, we got the chance to talk about like what was happening, how were we feeling about what was happening, the things we desire to see from the world around us and our school in general. And so I thought that was really amazing. And also, like this past, these few weeks after the disappointing Breonna Taylor verdict, our head of school and the head of ICIE, which is our school's like diversity department, actually held these open forums for all students. They were held outside the head of school's office. And so we just got the chance to talk about how we were feeling like about the verdict, that we wanted to see from our nation, our society, and our school. And I thought that that was really powerful, because that happened honestly without any like student planning or student pushing. They just acknowledged that we needed a space to talk about the things that were on our minds. And I thought that that was also really fruitful, because it wasn't just like Black students or students of color who were coming to those meetings. It gave everyone the chance to come and talk about it. So it was really amazing.
Awesome. Sounds great. Ayana?
Yeah, I guess I'm from Fieldston too. Fieldston did something similar to Horace Mann. Immediately, some Black teachers pooled together and was like, we need a space to mourn together and feel each other, even though we can't physically be in person together. So we just created this group chat, and all the Black students in the high school were put into it, and it was just a very helpful and academically important space to have that we didn't have before. And then we also were given the chance to speak forward to our grade, to our other peers, just as Black students, just to share how we were feeling. I think that was the most important thing to ever happen at that moment, because students in our grades didn't know how we were feeling. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to treat us anymore in that moment. And so being able to share how we were feeling with them just on a kind of panel like this was so important in that moment.
Thank you, Ayana. Thank you. We do have some questions from the audience, but Lovey, we're going to move on over to you. We'll get to that in a minute. I just want you to have an opportunity to ask a second question.
Sure, thank you. So I'd love to know, like, leading up to being accepted into your current school, were there any specific like strategies or resources that your parents used to support you throughout that process? And then now looking back in the school, like, is there anything you wish they would have done differently, or questions they would have asked to prepare you to get to understand like what the culture or the community was like? Yeah, I would love to know. And Gina, I can't see, so you could point to whoever.
Sure. Great question. Bethanny, I think your hand went up first. That's an awesome question. Thank you.
So I was applying to Riverdale I was applying to independent schools for the 5th grade, and I remember my family and I worked really closely with Miss Gina, and she really helped us so much, like she really helped us so much through the process. And I remember like she helped me to prepare for the interview. So we would do I think we did 1 or 2 mock interviews just to like familiarize me with the questions that might be asked, and like what are the best responses to say. So that was very helpful. So I would say mock interviews, just like to prepare yourself for that experience. And there's not really anything that I would do differently at this point, but I would definitely say just like preparing yourself for like the questions you might be asked in the interview, because that's one of the most important parts. And also like making sure that whatever like writing component or anything that might be there, you have like people to review it, so that you're not and just remember like you're not alone. So like wherever you can find support, take that. There are always going to be people who are willing to like read over your essay for you to help you with your interview. So just remember that.
Awesome. Thank you, Bethanny. It was a pleasure working with you. I'm so proud of you. Nshera, our summer intern.
Yes, it was. That was a great time. But also, so I applied for independent schools for middle school and for middle school. And so one thing that I remember my mom doing a lot was just keeping in close contact with like all the schools that I was applying to, whether it was like emailing the person that interviewed me after, like asking me questions, or emailing the head of the middle school or the head of school in general. I think just being able to keep in close contact with the people at the school who can actually like help you figure out whether or not that's a good space for you would be really important. And one thing I wish we would have done differently, I think I honestly do wish I would have done more like interview prep, because I feel like I kind of went in there really nervous, like not knowing what to expect. And I feel like it kind of worked in my favor because I could just like be my authentic self, but I also would have wished to have a little more preparation, just like a better idea of what I was walking into.
Okay. Thank you for that. Ayana?
So I have many siblings. I have an older sister who's 28 now, and then an older brother, and then my oldest sister, Adia, as well. So they were actually in Fieldston when I was a baby. So I was kind of brought in that environment. But I'd have to say, what made me stay in that environment was having like a buddy family I could look at in the high school and middle school. And I had a friend that I could like that would tell me the truth about how they felt in that moment and if I should stay in this school. So just having that connection to at least one family in both areas, middle school and high school, is very important for me.
Awesome.
Nice. Thank you all.
So there is a really great question from Courtney. You all, each of you are part of what is known as the Hill Schools, right? Riverdale, Horace Mann, Fieldston, all within less than a 1 mile radius of each other in the Riverdale section of the Bronx. And sometimes the lines get blurred. Most people know the distinction between the three. Courtney would like to know, she said the lines are blurring. So what are the key differences and what characteristics of your school are important for you personally? So what do you think the key characteristic or the key differences are between Riverdale, Fieldston, and Horace Mann, and what trait of your particular school is most important to you? So Bethanny, you want to start?
Sure, I could start. So I think about Riverdale specifically. I think the emphasis on like mind, character, and community, because that's our school slogan, is very important to me personally, because it's looking at like the holistic approach to education, and it's not like all academics, but it's also like learning about the arts, or learning, or playing sports, or doing cultural activities. So I think that Riverdale tries to give every student a very well-rounded experience, so they learn not just academically, but also in many different mediums. So like arts, sports, activities, clubs, those types of things. And I think that like that holistic approach to education is really important. It's what makes Riverdale special.
Okay. And Nshera, you want to take a crack at what might be the key differences that you see among them? They're all great schools, but when you think of the three of them, how do you think they set themselves apart from one another?
I think at Horace Mann, and honestly any of the Hill schools, like they're renowned for their academics, and like you'll be getting a great academic experience at like any one of the three. But I think what stands out to me about Horace Mann in specific is just the general community, as cliche as it sounds. I think being at HM since 6th grade, like I've always felt incredibly like welcomed, and everyone is really, really loving, and like everyone makes an effort to like understand each other, like everyone else in the community, and uplift each other. I also, and like it's not just like students, but also like faculty. I feel like I'm very close to students, but I also have like a lot of teachers that I can honestly like rely on. And I'd be super comfortable spending any like free period in the day with a teacher or a student, because they really make an effort to like get to know us as people. And it's not just like the teachers that we have, even like the senior administrators, everyone is super open and welcoming towards students. And I think that that sense of community and openness and welcoming is really important. And it's honestly, I think, what sets HM apart for me.
Great. Thank you so much, Nshera. Ayana?
Well, Fieldston began as the working man's school, founded by Felix Adler. So our mission is loosely based off of service learning and community service. And so I think my favorite specific part about Fieldston is it's all about how we as people are going to go out, use our education, this wonderful education that we're given, and go out and do something about it and go out and change the world. So I think that's what's been my favorite part of it. I'm also on the community service board at Fieldston. So I am very into helping out our community around us, whereas we have built we fostered a very good community in our school already. So how do we bring that to whatever we go to in life? How do we change the world with using that education? So I think that's very important to me.
Awesome, thank you. There was a question earlier about social and emotional wellness and tools that our students are employing, or our parents should definitely make sure is available to our students as they navigate and negotiate these spaces. Some of you all have been in independent schools since kindergarten, similar to my children. I know that I absolutely employed wellness tools. I looked at it as a coaching opportunity for my children, because they are in places that are very demanding, rigorously and socially and emotionally tough, in that they didn't have many reflections of themselves. So I'm curious, what social and emotional wellness tools have you employed to manage these spaces? And if not, what do you wish your parents may have offered you to better negotiate these spaces once in an independent school? Okay, Ayana.
Again, this is semi-specific to Fieldston, but my oldest sister Tabia, founded this program in our school called Bridge to Bridge, and basically it's a mentorship program between the high school and middle school people of color. So I think that is one of the biggest tools I've used in my life, just having an older mentor who's been through Fieldston, who knows what they're doing, and be able to relate to them and be able to share our experiences and share what we're going through, and just know that although this happened, this school is amazing as well. And then home life, I appreciate my parents so much for just bearing with me through this, because they had kids who went there and they knew what independent school system was like. And they really just were here and open to talk to me about everything I needed to go through and everything that I had to go through and what I was going to do with that, how I was going to change it. So I appreciate them a lot for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Nshera?
Yeah, no, honestly, the same as what Ayana was saying. I feel like having affinity spaces at my school has been really helpful. One thing I've taken advantage of a lot, and especially in high school, has been our upper division affinity group for Black students. It's called Blacks or Black Excellence. That's honestly like one of the things I look forward to every single week, because I know that I get the chance to like see myself like reflected in all of my friends. We get to talk about whatever has like gone on in our weeks. We get to de-stress, and it's always just a really great time. And I also was a part of, and I'm actually one of the student leaders for our school's mentorship program for students of color, and it's called STEPS, and it's been doing a really amazing work throughout the middle school, and we're actually expanding in the lower division now, which is really amazing. And so that's been really great. And in my home life, I think it's the way I've approached like social and like emotional wellness. I think from a really young age, I've been really open and honest with my parents, because as you can probably tell by now, I'm a talker. And so I always like want to talk about like what's been going on in my day and like how I'm feeling. Sometimes to the disdain of my parents, who honestly are very busy people. But I think giving your children the space to talk about like how they're feeling is really important. And as I've gotten older, I've become a little more withdrawn. And so I think I've taken a better approach to self-care. And like this past summer, I realized that self-care is something that's really important, like to incorporate into your daily schedule. And so just like finding places to like, be quiet and like find time within myself, or just doing things that like make me happy no matter like what's going on, finding places and people to see myself within. That's been really important for me to like maintain my own sanity.
Thank you, Nshera. Bethanny?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. Definitely older mentors and just like having people around who like I know I can talk to has been very helpful for me. I'm a member of the Riverdale Black Affinity group called BSA, and it's been so helpful to me. Like Shira said, it's something I look forward to every week, just to talk about like whatever's on our mind, and it really feels like a supportive network of students. And just personally, my parents are very supportive. So like and they always have a listening ear for like anything that any concerns I might have, or like anything that's happened that day, or just to talk. So like for parents, just like as your kid is going through this, like make space for them to talk and like share their opinions and share like how they're feeling. And just like personally, like every night before I go to bed, I just have like 5 minutes of mindful meditation just to breathe and check in with myself. So I think that just like finding time for self-care and like making sure you're taking care of your own needs is very important. And like even if you're very busy, like it's so important to like take a step back, like even just 5-10 minutes a day, just to recognize your own needs and practice self-care.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Jennifer, do you have any other questions for?
Yes, I have one more. All three schools are pretty rigorous academically. What would you say that the school do to provide resources and support for you when you do run into academic challenges? Brittany? Bethanny, sorry.
Bethanny, it's okay. So this is something I love to talk about. So the teachers at Riverdale are amazing. They're always there to help any student who's academically struggling or anything like that. I would say like almost every teacher I've had at Riverdale, I know I can turn to them like if I'm struggling in a class. And like it's very common at Riverdale for students to make meetings with teachers to say, hey, can we review this test or can we review this homework? Because the teachers there are super supportive. So even though Riverdale is pretty academically rigorous, like there's a lot of support from teachers, and they really all want to see their students succeed, which I think is really important to me. So even through the academic rigor, it's the support from the teachers and the instructors who really like get you through it. So it's not as hard as it might seem.
Thank you, Bethany. Nshera?
Yeah, so the same thing kind of happens at HM. So there are 8 periods in the day, and so teachers teach no more than 4 sections. So they have the other half of the day to like meet with students and give extra help. And so you always know that like you can find a common time with your teacher if you ever have any questions. And also like there are other teachers within the department that you can always ask questions. I personally, like for most of freshman year, asked my teacher from 7th grade for help. And so like there are lots of teachers like within the community who would love to give you advice. There are also different like academic centers within the middle and high school to offer academic support in like different areas that you might be struggling in. And also like especially within the middle division, there's an emphasis on finding as much help as you can like within the community. And so for example, like I'm a part of the middle division mentoring program, which is like for the entire middle division. And so we provide tutoring and like academic help for all middle school students, and that's open I think twice a week. And so there's honestly a wealth of resources that you can tap into if you ever need any kind of like academic support.
Great, thank you, Nshera. Ayana?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with both Bethanny and Nshera. Fieldston also has a lot of academic centers, and all of our schools want to see their students succeed in life and really push them to meet with them. But I'd have to say specifically for me and my journey, I'm sorry, I was struggling through middle school a lot and a little bit towards in high school academically, and just finding it hard to manage my time and organize my schedule. And one teacher saw this happening and actually pushed me to go speak with the learning specialist at school. And so Fieldston provided me with my own learning specialist, and they do this for tons of kids in the grade, just like a personal person you can meet with once a week and just like organize your schedule, talk about how you're doing, talk about how you're feeling. And so I still use her today, even though I don't need her as much. And I really appreciate that they did that and they have that program.
Awesome, thank you, Ayana.
Jennifer, I really appreciate that question because it's clear based on the responses that our students ask for what they need. Yeah. And that is what I appreciate about an independent school education and the culture of independent schools. Kids speak up, right? And so I do encourage parents to make sure that they're asking for what they need, right? And making sure that their students, their children understand that they can. Okay, you're in places where people ask for what they need, and there's no reason for, closed mouth does not get fed. So I thank you for that. I thank you for that. Lovey, do you have some more questions?
Yeah. I'd love to know, like, what is that one piece of advice that one of you would share with students that's either trying to decide whether or not they want to attend a PWI independent school, or like if they're hesitant of taking that step? Like, what's that piece of advice that you would give to to make them better understand that it is worth the time and the hard work that you to attend that type of school.
Yeah.
Gina, again, you could choose.
Bethanny?
So I would say definitely just trust your gut because I know it's hard to visit schools during COVID, but when I was applying to schools, visiting schools was really important to me just to like get a feel for the environment and the culture of the space. But there's like almost every school is having like online open houses and they've like made their admissions process like a lot more accessible over the internet. So I would say like do your research, see and just like see which environment feels like home to you and feels like a place you would be comfortable because there are so many great independent schools in the New York area alone. Like there's 19 at this event today. So I think that like if you can really like look around, do your research, like there's a place for everyone. And like I think that just like to see which environment feels the best for you and which environment feels like a place you would fit in, just like overall, just like trust your gut in that sense.
Thank you.
Nshera? Thank you, Bethanny. Thank you, Bethanny. Nshera?
One thing that is definitely important, and I wish I heard a lot more like when I was applying, is the fact that like you belong here. I feel like especially like when you apply and like you're not seeing as many faces that look like you, like in the open houses or like on stage in the panels or even in the classrooms, it's really hard to feel like you can like actually see yourself or like belong in these environments. And so I just want to validate that like as a student, as a parent and a family, like you belong in these spaces, like you have so much to offer to honestly any of these communities, and they would definitely benefit just as much as you'd benefit from being there. They would definitely benefit from your presence at these schools. And so no matter what school that you're in, make sure you're bringing your full self and your full identity and culture to all of these spaces, because like they want you there because you have so much to offer. And so make sure that you're bringing your full self because you belong and you deserve to be in that environment.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that, Nshera. Ayana?
I was going to say something similar to Nshera, but she said it so perfectly. I would have to say another thing that is a great piece of advice. I don't want to make our schools seem like the independent schools are the place to be and they're perfect and they're like gold. Everyone has their faults, everyone has their problems, but I'd have to say don't let one little experience break you, because it's going to happen. They'll tell your child it will happen. There will be that one experience where they feel broken and they feel like, oh, I'm not fit for this school or I'm not good enough. They completely are. And so I would have to say, don't let that experience break you. Let it make you better. Let it show you how to build and show you what to fix and show you what you need to do in order for the next student not to have to face that. And I think that's what we're all trying to do right now. Me, Bethanny, and Nshera we don't want like our middle school friends to have to experience that. So that's what we're trying to go through now. But you do have to go through some of those hardships to make what you think is the perfect place for the next student.
Wow, you all are incredible. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you for that. It's true. You know, we have to anticipate that other shoe dropping at any point in time. And I think, I know that it's important for parents to engage in conversation with you all about the many experiences that you will face or that you have faced. So we can't be afraid as parents to ask those questions. We live, and I know you can attest to this, Jennifer, and you too, Lovey, you know, we're balancing this pride and guilt all at the same time, right? And but we are here for you and we're extremely proud of you. What would you tell your fifth grade self, or maybe even your fourth or fifth grade self? And that's part one. And then part two is, who are you in 2040? Okay, I know you're getting through these college applications right now. You're on your way. Before you know it, we can tell you, 20 years goes fast, right, Jennifer and Lovey? You look back and you're like, whoa. So what would you tell your fifth grade self, and where do you see yourself in 2040? Who wants to go first? Okay, Ayana.
These questions are a little tough right now, being that me and Nshera are applying to college right now. But I think coming right off my point I just made, I would tell my fourth grade self, don't let anyone shut you up. Don't let anyone put you down. You are here for a reason, and you are here to benefit other people. You are here to make your environment the perfect space for you. It's okay to be a little selfish in that. It's okay to look for things for yourself. It's okay to have that little selfishness, because I know I felt like I had to be this perfect child and I had to fit right in. That brought a whole bunch of other problems on, but you don't. Just you are where you're supposed to be, and don't let anyone take that from you. And then where do I see myself in 2040? I truly see myself not stopping what I'm doing. I see myself building a better community for the people around me if that hasn't happened already. I truly believe Generation Z is is a good generation, that we've started off so strong already, is a great generation to keep what we want going, and we're not going to stop until we see what we want in this whole world push through. So I really believe in that.
Thank you. I'm excited. I'm excited. Thank you. Ayana, Nshera, excuse me.
One thing I would definitely tell my fifth grade self is like live in the moment more and stop worrying so much about your future. I think, like as Ayana was saying, we're applying to college now, but I truly do think I was more worried about like the general outlook of my life when I was in fifth grade, especially because I was applying to independent schools. I was so worried about like where I would end up and how that would affect my college chances and like how that affect my life, even though I was literally 11. And so I wish I would have like, enjoyed my childhood a little bit more. And I'm definitely feeling that now because I'm applying to college. But I definitely would have just wanted to, I guess, like enjoy childhood more and like, play outside with friends more, just be a kid a little bit more. And in 2040, hopefully, fingers crossed, by then I'm a surgeon. That's the goal right now. And I hope that like in all the things that I do, like in the colleges that I go to and like the fields that I enter or the hospitals, hopefully that I enter, I hope that I'm able to make them more equitable. I hope that I'm able to pave the path for other people who look like me and share my experiences to, enter those spaces and make them as equitable and as inclusive as possible.
Awesome. Thank you. So we have a surgeon, we have a community leader, activist, politician, maybe lawyer. I mean, you could take that anywhere, Ayana, right? Changing the world, a change maker for sure. Thank you. What about you, Bethanny?
There are so many things, but if I had to tell my fifth grade self something, I guess I would say like keep on keeping on, like you're doing great things and like don't let anyone deter you from doing what you love and like working hard because there's so many great things in your future. And just like remember that like you're loved, you belong, like even if it may not always feel that way. And in 2040, that's a lot to think about, but I just see myself like you because I just see myself like working hard to like be successful in whatever path I choose, and definitely giving back to my community. I have a younger brother who is also at Riverdale. He's in the fourth grade at Riverdale, so like also like to give back to the Riverdale communities to see him like blossom and like whatever changes I could make, and just like to give back to my community, like buy my parents a house in the hills, just.
Oh, that's sweet. That's sweet. We need y'all. We need you, Generation Z. And you're already making things happen. There was a question, because clearly we have, some Black girl magic going on here. And so, what about the fellas? What about boys in independent school? I have a girl and a boy, and I know they've experienced their school differently, right? Some of you will all have brothers. Bethanny, you have a brother that's currently in an independent school, and Ayana, your brother went through, right? How do you think their experience was different? How do you think boys' experience is different than girls, boys of color different than girls of color in independent schools? Who wants to go first? Oh, okay. Okay, and Nshera, well, you don't have a brother at school, but you do?
I don't, but I have an older brother, but he didn't go to independent school. Yeah.
All right. Well, based on your experience, I shouldn't have left you out of this. What would you?
I definitely say, because I have a lot of like guy friends, not only like at HM but beyond, and I definitely feel like assimilating is a little bit easier for them, just because like as a Black boy, there's kind of the whole like Black boy lore, like they're so cool, they're tall, they have it all, and so I feel like it's definitely easier for them to like assimilate and make friends, but they definitely experience like the same challenges and triumphs as their Black girl peers. But I know Bethanny and Ayana can definitely speak to that better than I can.
Well, I do want to make a distinction with the word assimilate. I don't think any of you all are trying to assimilate. There's some acculturation going on, but there's no assimilation, right? Because you've already expressed that you bring your whole authentic self into your spaces. They are blessed because of it. Our schools are better because you're bringing your authentic self. So I just wanted to just That word just kind of, you know, weirds me out. What about you, Ayana? What would you have to say?
I'd have to say with males and females already, there's this quota for men that they have to be confident, they can't have these emotions that women are allowed already. So just seeing my brothers both go through that space and feeling like maybe they couldn't speak up about something because they already had this toxic masculinity shoved down their throats, just being a male in general, I would say they have that little hump they have to get over as well in their independent school life, and they work towards building up their confidence and just being the powerful people they are. And I think that's the biggest outtook I took on my two brothers going through the system.
Awesome, thank you. Bethanny, I know your brother's younger.
Yeah, I think that my experience and my brother's experience have been vastly different so far, but it's also because like I entered the independent school community when I was older. I was in fifth grade, but he's been there since kindergarten. We're 5 years apart. He's in fourth grade. So I think that the experience is vastly different in some ways, but it can also be very similar in others. Because like there's trials and tribulations, but there's also like great opportunities and great times for everyone. And just like I think that there's more of a sense of like because I think that girls can be more cliquey sometimes, but like I hear my brother will always be like, "Oh, I'm playing football with the boys," and like he'll play football and basketball with like boys of any race, and like he'll hang out with just like lots of different people, and he gets along with like lots of different people. So I mean, I think that it's just like, and also like every person is different just in general. So I think that like for parents, like you know your child best. So just like every experience will be different. But I think that it's definitely just as much of a positive experience for Black boys as it is for Black girls and vice versa.
Okay, great. Awesome. Awesome. So how do we want to close this? I'm going to leave you all with some parting words, but before we do that, I just want Lovey to talk to the boarding school um, culture, because that's where you're headed right now, right? You're really looking strongly at boarding schools, and we, the students here today are representing day schools. What would you want to say to any parent out there who is considering a boarding school, or maybe some myths you want to dispel about boarding school and what you see as an opportunity for students going to boarding school?
Yeah. So I'll say this. When we first started even thinking about boarding schools, it was actually pretty early on because the school that my son attends now, George Jackson Academy, they do have quite a lot of students that have attended boarding school. And so I was able to have a glimpse into the experiences that his peers had at that time, which I think was really helpful because it gave me the confidence to trust that I could send my child somewhere. And he's crazy enough to be thinking about a school in California that I'm not entirely sure how we're going to talk about that if he gets accepted, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I think that it mostly has to do with really doing your research and trusting your child, and being able to understand who your child is and if they're able to thrive in that type of community. And so I know that my son is mature enough to advocate for himself and to build relationships with people when he's at a boarding school type of environment. And I like the more that I've spoken to admissions counselors, and we've attended, I can't even count how many different virtual meetings and emails and tours, and it's been chaotic, but I see that it's actually really similar to the independent day school that he attends right now, except for he's just living somewhere else. And so just being able to fully get a grasp of like what their culture is, how they respond to different situations, whether it's like a racially charged incident, and how the school may respond to that, like when it comes to policies or just the community spaces to help them feel safe. You have to look at that whole entire package. And we make sure that we're really intentional about asking those questions every opportunity that we get, whether that's during the interview process, even in the essays, making it clear that like he is a confident Black boy and he is proud of who he is, and that he will be bringing his full self to that school. And hopefully if they accept him, they're accepting who he is as an individual. So yeah, I would say that it's not much of a difference. You just have to really, really trust your child as well as the school.
Perfect. Thank you. And Jennifer, so you have two in college right now. What would you say to these three young, amazing individuals about the college process? I mean, Bethanny, you're almost there. 4 years is going to go really quickly. But Ayana and Nshera, what would you say to them about
the college process? Well, I would say enjoy it, right? As crazy as it may be, and all the things that you have to do, enjoy the process. It is a stressful time, right? But know that at the end of the day, you will be where you're supposed to be, right? My daughter had her mind cooked on one school and got waitlisted, but she had a good attitude about it. She walked away and said, okay, that might not be the place for me. There are so many other great schools out there. I had to look at them all, see what they have. Even though they wind up going to an Ivy, my son and my daughter's at one. It's important that we understand those are not the only schools that can help you be the people you want to be, right? There's so many great schools out there, and you have to choose the one that's going to help you be the person you want to be in life. As a ninth grader, I would tell you start early, right? And as the SAT, what's it called? The special test, the subject test. Start them early, right? If you're taking biology, take the biology subject test at the end of the year. Don't wait till 11th grade to do everything. Start your SAT prep going until 11th grade. Those things help your 11th grade year go a little bit smoother if you start early and going through the process. Keep your parents in the loop, right? Although sometimes we don't think they know what they're talking about, they know you very, very well. So keep them in the loop, let them help you, ask for help. There's so many people who's willing to help you out.
Thank you. Thank you. So with that, I know we have 5 minutes left, but I'm going to just say thank you to you all right now. I know you have work to do. You're steeped in a lot of books and tests and just preparing for that next step. So I just want to thank you for your time today. Bethanny, thank you so much. All right. And Nshera, thank you. And Ayana, thank you as well. We really appreciate you. You all are the reason why. You're the reason why. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed your time with the welcome, hearing from Dr. Michelle Purdy, going to the different schools and checking them out. There's many more steps beyond. If there are any more recruitment events that you can get into, do it. The more that you know, the better you're able to navigate this process. RIISE is here for you. Follow us at 4RIISE on Instagram and Facebook. Follow us on our website, 4riise.org. I hope you're getting our newsletters. All of us are here for you, right? There's a lot of different organizations out here that are pushing in the same direction, and we have not reached a tipping point yet. So each one of us is necessary. Reach out to Parenting While Black. They have great resources. Your different parenting organizations like your Jack and Jills and your Mocha Moms, there's resources there as well. Don't believe everything that you hear out on the street. You'll know, trust your gut. Who was it that said trust your gut? That is absolute key. Show up, be on time, take care of your business, take care of your kids. And we hope that you join us to transform the elite, because we're looking for you. We're really looking for you. So with that, I'm going to say thank you to our sponsors again, and thank you to all of our schools. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Lovey, so much for helping us close this out this afternoon. All right, and we're going to have this on demand. So hopefully all of our schools were able to record, and we will make this available to you all later. So vote. Don't forget to vote if you haven't done so already. And you all are not far behind with that, right? You're the future voters. Okay. So thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate you. Have a great one. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is it over? I heard you're closing.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Right.